Banyue is one of the coolest and best designed characters ZZZ has released so far. He is not only incredibly fun to play, but also offers a lot of skill expression with various fighting game-like inputs, and in exchange for just slightly lower damage, also offers a simplified way for you to play him. So today let's talk about his kit and how he plays, his best weapons, destroys and destroy sets, his combos, main and substats, teams and Mindscapes, and lastly, let's also talk about his pros and cons. Welcome! I'm Rivenous and this is your complete XXL in-depth guide to Banyue. Banyue is a fire rupture agent who specializes in fighting game-like combo inputs, alternating between different EX specials depending on your sequence of inputs, and he might be the first agent to release in a very long time, where his kit is actually less complicated than the character itself. So let's talk about his kit. First up, he is a rupture agent and hence also does rupture agent things, dealing sheer damage and having adrenaline instead of energy. This absolutely is nothing new to the game by now, so we will skip it. Banyue has two resources, Wrathful Fires, which can stack up to 150 and is represented as the bar below his HP bar, and Mountain's Might, which can stack 4 times and are the 4 squares below his Wrathful Fires. Wrathful Fires can be generated through various ways. He gains 4 points upon triggering a defensive assist, perfect dodge, or when parrying using his dodge, which we will get back to later, and 6 points if said on-field parry also triggers a perfect block. Lastly, he will also convert half of his adrenaline spent into Wrathful Fires as well. If Banyue has at least 120 Wrathful Fires, indicated by the little cutoff right here within this bar, he can then enter the Visage of Wrath state by using either his held basic attack, chain or ultimate. We will talk more about these skills later on. When Banyue enters the Visage of Wrath state, he will then gain 4 points of Mountain's Might, and while he is within said state, he can no longer obtain Wrathful Fires. Exiting the state will then cause him to lose all his remaining Mountain's Might. If Banyue possesses Mountain's Might, his EX specials do not cost adrenaline anymore and instead consume 1 Mountain's Might, as well as restoring 10 adrenaline when cast. Lastly, when using an EX special or assist follow-up, Banyue will gain 300 Shear Force as well as 36% fire damage bonus and crit damage. There's also this little passage of text right here, but we will skip it for now and get back to it later on. Instead, let's first talk about his basic attacks. Banyue has 2 4-hit basic attack strings, with the first one being triggered by pressing his basic attack and the second one by pressing his special. I will refer to them as basic attack basics and special basics respectively, because it is basically never worth it to use his special basics over his basic basics, so we can forget they exist. Once per fight, if Banyue is not in combat and has more than 50% HP, which is basically, well, always, we can hold his basic attack pressed to go Super Saiyan. Or in other words, we will consume 50% of his max HP to generate 120 Wrathful Fires. Because the skill can only be used outside of combat, that also means we do this at the beginning of each fight before we actually start the fight, and that effectively means we will simply start combat with 120 Wrathful Fires. If we are in combat, however, not in the Visage of Wrath state and have at least 120 Wrathful Fires, we can hold basic attack pressed to cast his basic attack Immolate, which will deal some damage and daze and has Banyue enter the Visage of Wrath state. Truthfully, we will never use this, and if you find yourself in a situation where you have to use it, you did something wrong, hence we can also forget that this one exists as well. You might also have noticed that up until now we never actually consumed any Wrathful Fires. That is because upon doing so, Banyue will exit the state, clear all of his remaining Mountain's Might, and is able to gain Wrathful Fires again. So, how do we exit the state, and what even is the state useful for? We get to the latter in just a bit. Let's first cover his last 2 basic attacks to answer the first question. Yes, he has 6 basics and we will use all of them, but his special basics. After using at least 2 different combo input EX specials during the Visage of Wrath state, we can hold his basic attack button pressed, and upon doing so we will inflict a good chunk of damage, then automatically follow up with his last basic attack called Toppling Mountain. Toppling Mountain will consume 120 Wrathful Fires, inflict a hefty chunk of damage, and because we consumed Wrathful Fires, then exit the Visage of Wrath state. Not only is this the probably coolest attack in the game up until now, but it can also be cast by simply holding his basic attack pressed without having to use 2 different combo input EX specials. This will become very important later on, as this refers to this little core skill section we skipped earlier, and we will talk more about it after his EX specials. Banyue does not have a special attack because it is occupied by his basics. Instead, he features 6 different EX specials, and while they are all very similar, they are cast either by different inputs in quick succession or after certain basic attack strings. That also means for Banyue only, we will have a special EX special combo screen. Editor, bring it on. Of these EX specials, Banyue has his normal EX specials and the Wrath specials, but let's focus on the normal ones for now. All of his normal EX specials cost 20 adrenaline each and have manual inputs associated with them. These will be some combination of basic and special, for example basic special basic or special special basic, with each one giving a different move. These inputs need to be done after other attacks. Pretty much anything that isn't a basic attack string works, so you can do it after an assist follow-up, ultimate, and even another EX special. That also means linking multiple EX specials together is something you will want to do, especially as Banyue has so-called perfect cancel windows. By inputting an EX special after another, you can cancel the animation but still get all of the damage out. The problem is that each EX special also has their own perfect cancel window. Input the sequence too quickly and it will fully cancel the previous EX special, making you lose out on damage. But inputting it too slowly means you will not get the transition. Timing here is key. There is no perfect cancels when getting them after basic attacks though, and for that you don't need to do any complex inputs, as different points of Banyue's basic attack strings are tied to different moves. Pressing the opposite button during a string will cast an EX special, so for example if you're doing basic 1, 2 and 3 and then you press your special button, that will do an EX special. Likewise, if you're doing special basic 1, special basic 2 and then you press basic, that will also do an EX special. The moves and inputs are, in order of weakest to strongest: Lion's Roar, where Banyue stomps his feet and shouts, cast with basic special or by pressing special after the first or second hit of his basic attack string. One's Path, where he shoots out his mechanical beats, cast with special or by pressing basic after the third or fourth hit of his special basic attack string. Then we have Mountain Tremor, where he will lift up a slab of rock, cast with special basic or by pressing basic after the first or second hit of his special basic attack string. And lastly, Earthshaker, where he will punch the ground multiple times, cast with basic or by pressing special after the third or fourth hit of his basic attack string. These are only 4 though and not 6. The remaining 2 are the Wrath EX specials, which cost 40 adrenaline each instead of 20, but also hit a lot harder. The good news is that there are no more inputs to remember. Both Lion's Roar, that is the shout, and Mountain Tremor, the rock lift, can be essentially upgraded and their inputs will still remain the same. The bad news is that they are only upgraded if used after a specific EX special. Lion's Roar Wrath is accessed by using it after One's Path, that is the beat attack, whereas Mountain Tremor Wrath is accessed by using it after Earthshaker, that is the ground punch. Since these do a lot more damage, it is good to get them in stun windows, but because they have double the adrenaline cost, it isn't worth doing them out of stun, as you will get more damage and daze by simply using his regular, not upgraded EX specials instead. So let's recap. Banyue has two ways of accessing his EX special strings, either with a set of 3 manual button presses after most of his skills, or as a single input after certain points in his basic attack strings. When linking an EX special after another, Banyue can cancel the animations, but still get damage when timed correctly. If Lion's Roar is linked to after one's path, or Mountain Tremor is linked after Earth Shaker, they are upgraded to stronger but more costly Wrath versions. And lastly, these Wrath versions should ideally only be used in stun. This is a lot to remember, but there is one more saving grace. For most players, it is very sufficient to only remember 2 EX specials, and which 2 that are will depend on the stun combo you choose, but more on that during the combo section. Knowing now how his EX specials work, we can now go back to his core skill. And you might remember this little section we skipped earlier, because Hoyo is fully aware that 99% of players will not actually remember any of his inputs. They did in fact put a little shortcut for you in here. If Banyue has any mountain mind points, simply holding his EX special will have him automatically cast all 4 of his basic EX specials in a fixed sequence, ending in an automatic cast of his basic attack Toppling Mountain, which will have him exit his Visage of Wrath state. However, Hoyo also wants to reward you for actually doing his cancels. So let's go back to his basics, more specifically his basic attack Crushing Peak. After using at least 2 different combo input EX specials during the Visage of Wrath state, simply holding his EX special pressed is not only slower, but it will also fully skip his basic attack Crushing Peaks, as its condition of using 2 different EX specials with quick input commands is simply not fulfilled, and that means you will be losing out on a non-negligible 750% MV. But that is not all. His additional ability requires either a stun or support agent, and when using his EX specials through quick inputs during his Visage of Wrath state, you will gain up to 15% fire damage bonus as well. So effectively, by using his simple auto combo shortcut, you lose out of 750 MV and 15% fire damage bonus for most of his attacks. This is not the end of the world, and you can definitely clear using his simplified autoplay, if I may call it that, but it is noticeable, and if you care about a somewhat high score in Deadly Assault, you will need to learn his combo input sequences. But let's continue with his kit, because for some reason we are not done yet. While Banyue features a normal dodge and a dash attack, we prefer to not actually use it, or at least not actively in the case of his dash attack, that is. Instead, we would much rather use his parry dodge we already have talked about before. Actually, it isn't a dodge at all, but a full-on parry instead, and we will use it by pressing dodge during an attack without any movement input commands. This will inflict some daze, just as other regular parries would, and he can directly follow this parry with an alternative version of his assist follow-up, more on that in a bit. He also features 2 dodges, with one of them being able to link into his EX specials by pressing dodge and moving in a half circle. But I did not find any meaningful application to this that would massively change his gameplay and outcome, so we will pretend this doesn't exist. His kit is overly complicated enough already as it is. His other dodge and dodge counter work as we would expect them to work, and we might occasionally use it, but we really just prefer using his on-field block, more on that in just a bit. So instead, let's get back to his parry dodge. Why do we want to use this one over any other dodge or parry he has? Pause the video now and let me know your guess in the comments. If you have paid attention, you already know the answer. If you have guessed because it inflicts much more daze than anything else, you are wrong. The daze is actually really bad, and any dodge counter will do double that at least. However, do you remember his core skill? The part where it says that he will recover 4 Wrathful Fires for dodging and defensive assists? Yes? Great, because it also specifies that he will gain 6 points when triggering a perfect block using his parry dodge. That also effectively means we ideally want to use his regular defensive assist and his on-field parry, with the first being primarily used for higher days and the latter for a better Wrathful Fires generation. If it has not been clear yet, Banyue is an on-fielder and he requires a lot of on-field time to generate his Wrathful Fires. Stunning the enemy too quickly means we will not have enough resources for his Visage of Wrath state during stun, and we really want to be in the Visage of Wrath state during stun. More on that in just a bit. His quick assist and defensive assist do what they are supposed to do, and as already teased earlier, Banyue features 2 assist follow-ups. One regular one to be used after his defensive assist, and one with slightly lower damage and days MVs to be used after his on-field parry dodge. And because this alternative assist follow-up does more days than his dodge counter does, we ideally do not want to use his dodge counter. However, if you do, it is really not the end of the world either. Let's finish his kit with his chain and ultimate. Both do what they are supposed to do, with the real only notable point being that both of them will have Banyue enter the Visage of Wrath state if he has at least 120 Wrathful Fires. This is also the reason why we will never want to use his health basic to enter his state, as his ultimate and chain will do that for us without wasting 2 to 3 seconds of our limited time. And because his kit is so incredibly complicated, convoluted and also really long, let's do a quick kit summary and how to play section. Banyue is an on-field DPS, and because a good part of his damage is locked behind his state-ending combo finisher, that being his basic attack Crushing Peaks and Toppling Mountain, we want to make sure to always be in the Visage of Wrath state during the enemy stun window and end the stun window with said finisher, ideally using manual EX inputs. Outside of the stun window, we will need to manage his adrenaline carefully and use his on-field parry, defensive assist and EX specials to gain 120 Wrathful Fires before the next stun. This can be surprisingly hard, and generally, hard is probably the best description for Banyue's kit. Not because he in itself is very difficult to play, even at the baseline, but because his resource management is very tight, and trying to keep up a good days infliction while also making sure he has enough resources for every stun can be honestly quite challenging. In that sense, he plays quite a bit differently from other agents so far. Stunning the enemy too quickly means not having enough resources for his Visage of Wrath state during stun, but stunning too slowly is also really bad because basically all of his damage is during said stun window. That also means double support comps are not a thing for him. You will need a stunner, and that stunner is ideally Dialin, optionally Jufufu. But the LDR here being, outside of stun, we press basic attack, dodge or on-field parry with him if applicable, and spend his adrenaline for any EX to gain Wrathful Fires. Which EX you exactly use does not really matter too much, so just randomly press special and basics however you please. It really only matters that you do any EX specials at all and spend your adrenaline to have 120 Wrathful Fires ready for the stun window. With that said, most of his damage comes from his ultimate, EX specials and basics, and because of that, his skill priority is core skill, ultimate, EX special and basics, into assist and lastly dodge. Because his damage is distributed throughout basically his entire kit, aside from his dodge and somewhat-ish his assist, he is a very expensive unit to invest into. And even then, I would highly recommend getting all of his skills up to level 10 at the very least, as even his dodge and assist will need to contribute some days, which he really needs. And with that, after 11 full pages, 3,273 words, and 18,317 characters, we can finally talk about his combos. Regardless of which team you play, you will always begin every fight in the same way. We hold basic attack pressed until we are at 120 Wrathful Fires, then initiate combat. We continue to spend our 4 Mountains Might by using any 2 different EX specials, then hold basic pressed to cast our combo finisher. If you want to optimize damage and days, these EX specials should ideally be Earthshaker and Mountain Tremor Wrath each twice, but it really is such a small difference that I don't think it matters too much. If applicable, interrupt your EX special sequence with his dodge parries. For the casual player, well, honestly I don't think you should pull Banyue in the first place, as you will likely be massively disappointed with his performance, but if you do anyway, you can make use of his auto combo. We will simplify this stun combo specifically as much as possible. Yes, that also means this combo is very far from optimal. We require 120 Wrathful Fires before stun and trigger the stun prompt using Banyue. We follow up with the chains of our support and stunner and then end the chain with Banyue. If your stunner is Dialin, we will now use his ultimate instead of his chain. We wait until his ultimate or chain is fully over and until he has his 4 Mountain Mind points, then we keep EX special pressed and wait until the 2 rocks hit each other. Now we end the stun window with his ultimate. Frankly, if you have been using manual EX combos before, the automatic combo can actually feel much harder to pull off, as you cannot input buffer his hold EX during his chain or ultimate. You will have to wait until the chain or ultimate are completely finished and his Mountain's Might points are visible in the UI before starting to hold his EX special. But let's get a bit more sweaty. We again require 120 Wrathful Fires and also manual chain. We open the stun window with our stunner's EX to apply King of the Summit, then use Banyue's chain. During the chain we input basic, special, basic and then cancel the chain. Banyue will follow up immediately with his EX special Earthshaker, and while he does that we input special, special, basic, then switch out of him. And then we retrigger the chain using another character, but if you play with Dialin, we do so with her held basic. We select Banyue again and either use his chain or his from Dialin converted ultimate. During the animation we input yet again basic, special, basic, then special, special, basic during his Earthshaker. At the end of Mountain Tremor we then use our ultimate and end the stun window by holding basic pressed to cast his combo finisher basics. Whether you are casting his ultimate or combo finisher first, honestly doesn't matter too much, but using his ultimate first is just slightly faster. This is the standard combo you should ideally be using in any fight. Unless you are the super min-max kind of guy, in which case you can squeeze out another 1 to 2000 points by using his ideal stun combo. However, this combo is very hard to pull off, especially due to how extremely tight the time window is. We require 120 Wrathful Fires, Dialin and manual chain. We trigger the stun using another character, then select Banyue for his chain attack. We input special, basic, special during the chain, then cancel the chain and input basic, basic, special. We require Once Path and Lion's Roar Wrath here, as their animations are much shorter than the stronger Earthshaker and Mountain Tremor, and we honestly do not have enough time to fit any other EX except those 2 in. We swap cancel the Lion's Roar, retrigger the chain using Dialin's EX, and use a second chain on Banyue. We input yet again special, basic, special and basic, basic, special, and swap cancel the Lion's Roar Wrath a second time to now retrigger a chain prompt using 90 positive review points from Dialin. Select Banyue, cast his ultimate, followed by his held basic to cast his combo finisher, and then we finish the stun with his own ultimate. As seen in the footage, I did not manage to fit this in fully, but I am aware that it is possible, just very, very hard to do. 2 chains, 2 ultimates, 4 EX specials and the combo finisher. This effectively only works versus Wanderer, as we are only getting 3 stuns with Dialin anyway and hence can afford to use 90 points on her per stun window. Versus other bosses such as Marionettes, where we will be getting 4 stuns instead, this is not feasible for every stun window because we do not have enough points. That being said, while this is the best stun combo she has, it is also very easy to fuck it up, and the amount of effort required for this combo is not necessarily worth the return for most players, that is. In the end, which stun combo you choose will largely depend on your preference and your playstyle. That said, let's have a look at a gameplay breakdown. And as a small disclaimer, I am not a perfect Banyue player, so this is just what I did, and that does not mean that it is optimal, because you do things differently in the heat of battle. I begin combat by going Super Saiyan, and then I start off with Lucia's basic attack string to enter combat with Ether Veil as soon as possible. I quick assist into Banyue, then use any of his 4 EX specials to spend his Mountain's Might and end with his combo finisher. I use 1 EX special to start spending Adrenaline, then swap cancel it into Lucia to cast her EX special to get Moonlight Lullaby's damage buff up. While Wanderer is waiting around, I switch to Dialon to cast her EX special 3 times to get all of the buff ups, then go back to Banyue. I immediately cast 1 EX special to not get hit by Wanderer's Onslaught because it gives invulnerability, then use his on-field parry to, well, parry. From now on, I effectively just stay on field with Banyue, doing his basic attacks and random EX specials whenever possible, as well as using his on-field dodge parry when applicable to gain 120 Wrathful Fires. When I reach that threshold, I then switch to Dialon to cast her EX special twice to inflict some more daze, then switch to Lucia to cast her EX special into basic 5 to refresh both Ether Veil and apply Moonlight Lullaby right before we head into stun. I quick assist back into Banyue, then parry the next incoming attack and switch to Dialon to trigger the stun using her EX special. I select Banyue, then use Lion's Roar into Mountain Tremor and swap cancel the EX into Dialon to re-trigger the stun using her held basic. Why did I use Lion's Roar into Mountain Tremor here? Simply because I fat-fingered. I select Banyue to get the ultimate conversion, then follow up with his Earthshaker into Mountain Tremor Wrath as it should be. I hold basic to cast his combo finisher and finish the stun window with his ultimate. Unfortunately, most of his ultimate damage happens at the slam down at the end, and because I wasted some time earlier with Dialon casting an EX special first rather than directly using her held basic, this does not land within the stun. At least it is still enough for 17k at least, but this could have been 18. Anyway, this is really all there is to him. There are no big hidden thoughts behind this playstyle or the matchup during the on-field phase. It really is just a basic EX parry whenever, and because his on-field parry follows up with his assist follow-up, it also refreshes Wanderer's mechanic, so I don't really have to think about this either. Let's talk about his weapons. To hopefully no one's surprise, his signature is his best in slot by a good margin. Without his signature, however, either Off-Jingming Birdcage or Grillo-Wisp R5 will do, simply due to being stat sticks. Puzzle Sphere can guarantee a very good, essentially permanent uptime on its effect, but it loses out to other stat sticks due to being attack percent main stat. If you run any other weapon that is not his signature or Jingming Birdcage, crit rate in slot 4 is mandatory. Even with Grillo-Wisp, as Banyue cannot gain the crit rate it is able to provide due to not being HP consumption based. Just like any other Rupture unit, Banyue has one set, and that is a 4-piece Yunqui Tails. There is no alternative as his anomaly application isn't great and hence he cannot maintain a reasonable uptime on Inferno either. As for his 2-piece, I recommend Woodpecker due to the ease of build, but if you have an insane amount of crit rate substats, any of Branch and Blade Song or Inferno Metal can do well enough. If your substats can support it, crit damage in slot 4 is his best choice. For transparency, I'll calculate him with 14 crit rate substats, but if your crit rate substats are not sufficient, crit rate will be the better choice here. For slot 5 and 6 we are looking at fire damage and HP percent respectively. HP percent in slot 5 works as well, but it is quite a bit behind fire damage. As for his substats, focus on crit rate until 100% in combat, then crit damage into HP percent and lastly flat attack. Since he gains 14.4% crit rate from his talents, his signature giving him 20% in combat crit rate and Yunqui Tails 12%, we are looking at a maximum of 68% in the stat screen. Hitting exactly 68% is however not possible, so 68.2% it is. Banyue's Mindscapes exist. While they all provide a somewhat-ish fair gain throughout, none of them stands out for the amount of money they cost. His M1 provides him with 10% higher res shred and 10% shear damage for 4 out of his 6 EX specials. Unfortunately, both Earthshaker and Once Path are missing from this list, which is pretty sad since we require them to use our Wrath EX specials, preferably Mountain Tremor Wrath. His M1 also provides a 2-second stun extension, but because this clashes with Dialon, this effectively means it is your $150 fix to be able to play to Fufu instead to achieve the same results. Unfortunately, it is already more than hard enough to get 4 stuns on Banyue at all, and this stun extension actively works against that as well. His M1 grants him an additional 15% crit damage and fire damage bonus, and his EX specials now generate 15 instead of 10 adrenaline when consuming Mountain's Might. While the first at least does something, the second really changes nothing. It is 20 adrenaline per stun window and combat start, which means we get to use 4 additional EX specials over the course of the entire fight, which also equals 40 additional Wrathful Fires. His M3 and M5 might actually be his best Mindscapes. Or his worst. On one hand, Banyue really is lacking days, so the increased skill levels help out with that a lot and might make it easier to even achieve 4 stuns. On the other hand, his M1 is working against that and you might now stun too fast. Honestly, I will leave an evaluation of his M3 and M5 to Lin Null. Make sure to check out his channel, a link is in the description. His M4 exists and his M6 effectively makes sure he now has his additional ability active throughout the entire fight, essentially giving him a free 39% fire damage bonus. The additional 600% MV per stun window really do not matter at all. I recommend getting his weapon over any of his Mindscapes. So, Banyue has no free-to-play teams whatsoever. Kolleda stuns way too fast for him, and Pulchra does negative days while also requiring a bit of field time to even get her stacks. On the other hand, double support teams do not work as well, since Banyue does all his damage during stun, and getting only 2 stun windows instead of at least 3 is pretty detrimental to his damage. Which effectively means we are left with 3 premium stunners that take close to no field time, and we want to use either of Lucia or Panda in the last slot. Dialon is his best partner, not only granting him the stun extension he really wants to fit all of his combos into a single stun, but also providing him with 3 additional ultimates, possibly even 4. Additionally, she allows for his strongest stun combo, even if it is very difficult to pull off. Jufufu works as well, but the missing stun extension really hurts his combos and damage potential, and she only really becomes competitive starting with his Mindscape 1. She is however probably his most comfortable choice. Trigger can work as well in the second slot, albeit she will perform worse than the other 2 options versus Wanderer. It should also be noted that versus fights like Marionettes, you will need to adjust your build to lower her days or she will actually stun too quickly for Banyue's liking. All in all, Banyue's teams are very restrictive and the difference between using those and literally anything else is disgustingly massive. I also did not mention Lighter and Jingyi because both of them require too much field time for Banyue. Yes, even Lighter already requires too much. Banyue is very fun to play, has one of the coolest designs in ZZZ and his on-field parry feels really good. Unfortunately, that is also everything positive about him. His Mindscapes are not great, he has a very high skill ceiling with a mid to high skill floor, his days, resource generation and damage are all subpar at best, he is super expensive to invest into in terms of skill levels and his teams are extremely restrictive as well. He also is difficult enough to play that most casual players will not get great results with him and might even end up scoring better with Minato instead. Overall, Hoyo did Banyue real dirty and I am not happy about this. I hope they will significantly buff his damage and resource generation before he goes live, or his release will be a massive shitfest on how Hoyo hates males. And that stigma already exists anyway, despite Lighter and Minato being great units, not even mentioning the other games. But yeah, to end this video, unless you really like Banyue and want to pull him solely for his looks, I would not recommend getting him as of right now. He is in a horrible state and probably one if not the worst unit they have released in a very long time. And that honestly makes me personally very sad. Hoyo, please buff my boy. With that said, we are at the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, leave a comment on your thoughts on Banyue and how they should buff him because he definitely needs it, and join the Discord. A special thanks to my YouTube and Patreon members who make this content possible. If you wish to support me, you will find a link to my Patreon in the description, or click the join button right below this video. And as always, I appreciate all of you and wish you a great day. Enjoy the showcase. Peace.